Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newington Town Council public hearing regarding the Gold Star families tax exemption. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:48. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for interested individuals to express their views regarding the proposed amendment to Chapter 388 taxation, Article 8, property tax exemption for Gold Star parents and spouses. This is something that the town has been willing to honor. It was put forward by the state several years ago, and we are now officially adopting this in our tax code ordinance as an ordinance. So we are opening it up for public participation. Anyone that would like to participate can come forward to the table at the microphone regarding the Gold Star tax exemption, or anyone online is able to come forward in the Zoom application by raising your hand in the participation window or dialing *9 on your phone to let us know that you'd like to be recognized. One more minute in case anyone wants to weigh in on the Gold Star tax exemption. All right, I have no hands up in our Zoom application, and no one in the room is coming forward for this one. So we will close the public hearing at 6:50 p.m. All right, welcome and good evening. Welcome to our Newington Town Council public hearing regarding our low-income veterans exemption. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:51 p.m. Any member of the public, the purpose of the meeting is to provide an opportunity for interested individuals to express their views regarding the proposed amendment to Chapter 388 taxation, Article 8, low-income veterans exemption. We are open for public comment regarding this item. In the Zoom application, if you are participating, you can raise your hand in the participants window. If you are in the room, you can come forward to the microphone and state your name for the record. Again, comment during this meeting is only for the taxation code ordinance for low-income veterans exemption. Participation window, I see no hands up there. Okay, if there is no public participation, we will close this hearing at 6:53. Good evening and welcome to the Newington Town Council regular meeting of Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If you would please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we do the roll call, please?
Councilor Anest?
Here.
Councilor Bedrejko?
Here.
Councilor Camillo?
Here, thanks.
Councilor Donahue?
Here.
Councilor Menke?
Here.
Councilor Nagel? Absent. Councilor Page?
Here.
Councilor Rada?
Here.
Mayor Lubuno?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, James. I would ask that we have a moment of silence now for those that lost their life at the Covenant school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you. Our agenda is approval of our agenda. There are a few changes to be made. Councilor Menke?
I just have three changes to make. Under item 6B, it should read low-income veterans exemption. And under 6D, it should read tax relief program for certain homeowners of age 65 or over and permanently or totally disabled. I'd also like to add a item 6H. I should have put H. 6H. And that's to adjust the time of the public hearing on April 4th for the budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Page. And any discussion on these? Just to clarify, the first two are just that on the agenda itself, on the cover page of the packet, the title was not correct. The content inside the packet that was provided to everyone was correct. And the public hearings for those were held earlier this evening. So that was more of a clerical error on the front cover. And then just so the item 3, the town council budget meeting, my public hearing was supposed to begin at 6. I'm going to be
Sorry.
the item that I'm asking, we'll discuss it later, would be to just change the proposed time. I had a death of someone very close to my family, and the wake is that evening, so that extra half hour would allow me some time with my family. And the budget presentation should not require the full hour that was originally scheduled. So that would be the reasoning for the change that is requested. We have a motion and we have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We have our agenda. We're having a lot of ayes tonight. Okay.
Reminder, 8-0, Councilor Nagel absent.
Thank you. I have to say that every time. Motion passes 8-0, Councilor Nagel absent. Next item this evening is public participation. Any member of the public is welcome to come forward. And we just ask that you state your name and address for the record. We limit public comment to 3 minutes. There is a slide on the bottom of the screen that helps folks keep track if you're wondering how far along it is. And then if you're in the Zoom application and would like to participate, you can raise your hand in the participants window, and we will know that you'd like to be recognized. Typically, if we have folks online, I'll kind of take turns between the in-room and the online if that's necessary. But anyone's welcome to come forward now. No, okay. Go ahead, come right ahead. Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joyce Bunkle. My address is 18 Senior Avenue, Newington, Connecticut. And I'm here on behalf of the Newington Environmental Quality Commission. I'm here to ask the council to correct a problem being caused by the Balf-Tilcon quarry. But first, a bit of history. In 2021, at the Balf Committee meeting, as a result of citizens complaining about air pollution, I asked if anyone had data on air pollution in the area. No one said they had any data. Mr. Chapman, the town manager at the time, asked Barbara Gigliotti of the health department if she would look into getting an air pollution monitor. The health department purchased one, put it on a building on Hartford Avenue because the predominant wind direction is southeast to northwest. As of July 2022, the monitor started collecting data. The high levels of pollution it was showing were shocking. Other towns in the area have these monitors, and while Newington pollution levels were high, we could see other towns had low levels. And to this day, Newington often shows higher levels of pollution compared to other towns in the area. The town sanitarian investigated and said it appeared the pollution was coming from the quarry and attributed the problem source was a crusher the quarry uses to pulverize rock. Anyone can log on to purpleair.com and look at the data being collected for Newington along Hartford Avenue. During last summer, the data continued to show some very high readings in the unhealthy zone according to EPA standards. You might wonder if these readings are due to the activity at Lotta Motors where the monitor is located. The pollutants and what the monitor measures are particulates. These are very fine dust particles that can get deep into the lungs. The monitor does not measure hydrocarbons, which are the pollutants that come from a car exhaust that are measured by state emissions tests. What about car traffic coming along Hartford Avenue? If the dust resulted from car traffic, the data would show a rise of pollutants in the morning around 6 to 8 p.m. and a fall in the evening around 6 to 8 p.m. The data does not show that happening. In addition, the quarry regularly wets down the road. I have seen their trucks going up and down Hartford Avenue with no dust blowing off the trucks or coming up from the road. Dates last summer when levels were over 100, August 30th, 210, September 15th, 152, September 15th, 126, October 14th, 153, and October 15th, 290. The quarry along Hartford Avenue is lined with evergreen trees, tall arborvitaes, which probably do a lot to collect the dust, but more has to be done. In addition to businesses along Hartford Avenue, there are residential neighborhoods and 2 elementary schools within half a mile of the quarry. Although the pollution levels drop in the winter when the crusher is not operating, come this spring, summer, and fall, most likely readings will be high again. Something needs to be done to control the dust coming from the quarry. We're not trying to shut the quarry down. I'll repeat that. We are not trying to shut the quarry down. However, we think daily pollution levels below 50 are achievable. We know quarry operators spray water when the crusher is in operation.
However, just to be fair, we're 30 seconds over. I would just ask that you begin to wrap up.
However, there appears to be newer and better technology to control the dust. It's equipment that forms a foggy mist to bring down the tiniest dust particles. It's those tiny dust particles that can get deep into our lungs. It's the immature lungs of children that are being scarred and damaged. The handout I've provided shows data seen during the summer. We have seen days with pollution levels even higher. The data speaks for itself. We're asking the council not to ignore the data and to do something about the air pollution coming from the quarry. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one online person with their hand up, so I'll take them now and then we'll come back into the room. Ms. Lyons?
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive. I have many questions regarding how and why the Mill Pond Pool Project Public Building Committee has not met as requested by the mayor at your August 2021 meeting, but it's a moot point now in that a meeting has been called for tomorrow night at 6 p.m. However, since there is no public participation listed on the agenda, I'd like to once again ask the town council whether or not there has been anything in writing indicating that Keith Chapman and Janet Murphy have put aside $4 million either from the American Rescue and Reinvestment Act, which is stated in one of the Parks and Recreation minutes, or if there's any $4 million put aside from the American Rescue Plan Act to be put towards the Mill Pond Park pool. There have been a couple of letters to the editor and the town crier, not the town crier, I'm sorry, the Rare Reminder and Newington Life, and the latest article in Newington Life indicated that the town is hoping to use $5 million in state bonding and $4 million in federal ARPA funds. I find that very disturbing to me that a commitment can be made by a former town manager and that we're going to be held to it unless it's in writing. I'm hoping that what I'm reading is wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Anyone else in the room that would like to come forward is welcome to. Welcome, Ms. Francolino.
Good evening, Eileen Francolino, 116 Lydall Road. This past election, the residents of Newington were promised a transparent government. This requires both an informed government and informed electorate. Unfortunately, this has not been the case. The Parks and Recreation Board and Department have asked to come before the council to make a presentation explaining our desired plans for a new pool at Mill Pond Park.
Ms. Francolino, the audience is saying if you could move the microphone, that would be better. Thank you.
Okay, should I start over?
You can continue.
Let's see. The Parks and Recreation Board and Department have asked to come before the council to make a presentation explaining our desired plans for a new pool at Mill Pond Park. Our requests have been denied or maybe even ignored. One such explanation as to why this may have occurred was that our request for such a presentation had to come from the building committee. According to our charter, this is not the case. In section C-605, under the Board of Parks and Recreation, it says that the board shall recommend to the council the acquisition and development of new parks and recreational places, and shall plan and arrange recreational facilities. Based on this alone, the presentation should have been placed on the agenda. This is not an attempt to ram through a project, but rather to be sure that Newington has both an informed council and an informed electorate. That way, a wise decision can be made. We have the opportunity before us to move this project forward at a greatly reduced expense to our residents. By using rescue plan funds, along with money from the state, we could create a greatly needed improvement to our town park. I sincerely hope that the building committee and the council will take the opportunity to listen to our presentation, become informed, and to transparently share this information openly with the electorate. Only then will we see that this gem of a project, what a gem this project really is. It would be unfortunate to sit idly and let this opportunity pass us by. Thank you.
Anyone else is welcome to come forward? You don't have to raise your hand. You're just welcome to come up.
Good evening. My name is Edward Nueva. I'm 20 Surrey Drive, Newington, Connecticut. My concern, I understand we're going to be talking about the budget on April 4th. But I hope that the town of Newington, which is Republican controlled, cares about our children. It's my understanding that we're looking to even reduce our school budget, and that we have a surplus that we could use towards the school budget. Our children are our future. And we don't need to cut anything about the school budget. We need to increase the school budget, keep our wonderful teachers in town, and hopefully that will occur. But if not, hopefully we could get a Democrat mayor that will care about our children. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Vector.
My name's Bill Becker from 43 Hard Street, Newington. And I just wanted to say no to using the Mill Pond site for a new pool, because it takes up a whole lot of space over there, and we've already rejected other projects in that area because the for the desire of preserving Mill Pond open space. And another thing, putting that in there is going to take away the place where every 4th of July, you have that fireworks display. You won't be able to have that there anymore. Plus the added cost to the town for putting up buildings. And our mill rate's already 40. And I don't think we want to see that go up any. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Ann Mankey, 112 Northwood Road. I'm speaking not only as a taxpayer, but I also serve on the Lucy Robbins Wells Library, Inc. Board of Trustees. I have some serious concerns about the placement of the Newington pool being across Garfield. We already have traffic congestion, parking issues. I will remind the council that the parking lot that was put in place across the street is on land that the private library board purchased with the idea of expansion and renovation to their facility. Any project we put forward with our designers and architects, we've always included the stipulation that parking, adequate parking for our patrons be included in that design on that footprint. So with the idea that we were good neighbors to have that parking go in place while the town hall renovations was occurring, that is basically a temporary parking lot. What was put forward, and I don't know what the current plans look like for the pool renovation, but when it was put forward and I attended that meeting a few months ago, last fall, I guess it was stipulated that there was the potential of 600 people to utilize the pool on a daily basis and no additional parking would be put forward. Let's face it, people do not walk farther than they have to. They are not going to park on Browning to walk across the park to Garfield. They're going to park over here in the employee lot on Garfield and the library lot across the way. We already have serious parking, as I said, traffic issues currently. I don't think that's a great placement. I also have issue with green space. We have 2 pool locations. There's alternatives that we can look at. I'm not against the potential of a pool. I just don't like that particular location. I don't think that's ideal. I think it's not something that would suit us, and I think we would have a worse parking issue.
Good evening. My name is Michael Schumacher for Gilbert Road. I would like to speak in support of building a new pool facility at Mill Pond. I personally, I'm speaking for myself personally, and then also for Newington Swim Club, which is here in town. I've lived in Newington my whole life and have the benefit of being able to speak as someone who has utilized the pools as a community member growing up, as an employee, as a swim team member, and now as a swim coach. As a community member growing up, I spent nearly every day of my summers going to Churchill Pool and enjoying my time at the pool. In order for those opportunities to continue, I do think a new pool is necessary because having spent so much time at those pools, I've seen how run down and old they currently are. Not just speaking about the fact that they are leaking hundreds of thousands of gallons of water each summer. The facilities themselves are also run down and quite filthy, to be honest. I had my first job as a lifeguard, a swim instructor, and later as a pool director, where I was able to learn many skills necessary to being a valuable team member and leader. I can attest to the value of having these jobs in town, as I am only able to sit here today because my life was saved by my fellow lifeguards at the pools one day. They had to perform CPR on me, and that's the only reason I'm still here. So the lifeguards are indeed valuable and do know how to do their job. I would hope that these opportunities continue for people and children and teenagers in our community. I think it's a valuable place for them to learn skills. And it does help create a community atmosphere, having a local pool with local high schoolers and college kids that are working at it. I know that when people walk in there, they see those lifeguards, they know them because they teach them. They know them because those kids teach their swim lessons, and it does create a very positive community atmosphere. Those lifeguards also serve as role models for many of the children that participate in the summer camp programs, as well as all the public swim lessons and private swim lessons that are offered. As I kind of just spoke about, swimming and water safety are also very important. Anyone is liable to have accidents in the pool. As I discovered myself, I was a swimmer for about probably 8 or 9 years at that point, and I still did something foolish, which resulted in me almost dying. So in children, drowning is one of, if not the leading cause of preventable death. So having a place in town where people are able to have affordable swim lessons is beneficial for the simple point of making sure kids are safe when they're in the water. I've seen far too many parents that let their kids go in the water, and if we were not there watching, those kids would not be here anymore because the parents do not do a very good job of watching their kids. Water safety is very important, and having lessons available to people is very important. I know I'm over time. I'll be done in just a second here. As a swim coach, and speaking on behalf of Newington Swim Club, the town pools play a very important role in being able to have a swim team here. The swim teams have always been known for creating a positive atmosphere and a very encouraging environment for kids with many different types of kids that end up on the swim team. The swim club is a competitive USA swimming program made up of mostly Newington residents. It serves as a feeder program for our high school teams, and many of our high school athletes train on the team in their off seasons. We also have college swimmers who are coming back and training with us during the summer. The club would benefit from a consistent outdoor training facility during the summer months, which would afford us more equitable training opportunities to what other clubs and other towns have available to them. The current outdoor facility.
Ask you to wrap up. I'm sorry.
This is the last line. Current outdoor training facility is lacking proper lane lines, lacking proper flags, lacking any sort of starting blocks, which make it very difficult to maintain consistent training. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Frank Capalbo. I represent the CNC Automotive Service, Inc., 416 Hartford Avenue. Obviously, it was in Newington, Connecticut. Ms. Mayor, I sent you this email, which I'm going to read into the minutes. I don't know if you got it or not. And I want to apologize to the town council. I didn't make a copy.
I can forward it out.
Okay, thank you. I am written to let you be aware that on March 20th, I went to the rescheduled BUF committee. I got to put my glasses on, I forgot. When you're my age, you're going to need a double. Anyway, can I start all over again? Do you mind if I start all over again? Okay. I am written to let you be aware that on March 20th, I went to the rescheduled BUF committee meeting, and I'm just so disgusted that the meeting had to be canceled because there were not enough town members to have the meeting. How does that even happen? There was no representative from the BUF Steel Company present either. While waiting over 30 minutes in the hopes the town member will show, for the new town, for the town citizens that, in the open that members will show the few town citizens that we were there, started talking about our issue, and acting town manager, James Korpriaski, started saying the Tilcon buffer was there before you. He was not acknowledging our issue. He already made his mind that we were wrong. He was completely out of line. It was loud and disrespectful to all of us. We were not converted to voice our issue. We are town citizens and have the right to speak our mind and voice our issues. There was one member of the Buff Town Committee, and she started shouting, "Oh, I love dust." And everyone heard of that. What kind of a people are in this committee? I don't know her name, but I'm sure you can ask the acting town manager. Then I asked the fire marshal why the blast could not be less strong than they are, and he responded they were within the limits. I then asked why the seismograph placed it on the grass to get a reading. It's really not a correct representation. I asked why don't attach the seismograph to my building. His response was, I cannot do that because then the numbers would be too high. Are they afraid that the truth in the number would reveal that there is a huge problem here? The blasting and the dust are out of control, and we, the citizens, needs a completely fair, biased members on this committee to acknowledge this. Just to look at the fact and state what is wrong here. As far as we are concerned, Buff Tilcon Company can work 24 hours and 7 days a week, as long as the dust and the blasting does not cross their property line and infringe upon our health and state of mind. You, as a town mayor, the town council, TPZ, have the power and the duty to protect all of the citizens so we don't have to endure and have other infringe on our daily life. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your reply. Thank you. Thank you for letting me go over. I appreciate it.
Well, it took a while to get those glasses.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Kosowski, 426 Hartford Avenue, Lada Motors. I did send you email as well.
Today, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I sent
Okay.
it this morning. I'm gonna pretty much just read this. I didn't print it for everybody, but you can.
I can forward it to the council when I look at it.
We've been dealing, with the same issue over the years, and nothing really was done. Nothing changed, even though Tilcon said that they spent so much money to remedy blasting and dust, but it's still out of control. So I'm gonna just read this email. I would like to address some issues that we're dealing with, as well as the rescheduled Bulk Committee meeting that was rescheduled again, I'm assuming, right? For whatever reason. And, it's just not fair. I mean, we take time away from, work families, and we show up and with no results, basically, you know what I mean? And I'm very surprised that the acting town manager was aware and the fire marshal was aware and nobody else was aware about the meeting. I mean, it was posted on Town of Newington website. Also, I think for the future meetings, we should really have a BALF rep because that's why it's called bulk committee meeting. And also the issues that we've been dealing with, the dust and blasting, they're really health issues. And I think we should have a Central Connecticut Health Issues rep as well, because it kind of makes sense. Otherwise, why even have the meeting? What are we discussing? You know what I mean? So I'm going to just keep reading what I got here. Yes, nobody showed up. It was canceled again, and but the problem's still ongoing issue. So some members that were there. There was a lady, I don't know her name again. She said she loves dust. I don't know how and why, but that's what she said out loud. I mean, why would you love dust? I don't even think that she's a proper person to be on that committee if that's the approach. Again, I don't think, we also started talking about the issues that we had while we were waiting for other members to show up. And acting town manager replied that bulk quarry was there before us. It doesn't really give them the right to poison us, one way or another, right? So, it's a dust and blasting is out of control. My building is cracking all over. At some point, I took a ride to quarry and brought one of the, I guess, managers or supervisors to my building to show him. He said the building is settling down. This building was built in 1950. I mean, it did settle down already. So the blasting is very strong. I mean, I get some customers that are running away from the place when it happens because they're not aware of what's going on. Dust, especially on hot summer days. I have a dust monitor installed at my shop. Health District did that. On hot summer days, July, I don't know what's related, crusher. I don't want to know what's operating, but we got to be able to breathe. And you can actually chew that dust on those days when it's hot, humid, and really, really bad on dust. We're asking for town of Newington government assistance to deal with that issue. That's all. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is John Capalbo, and also I'm the owner of a CNC Automotive. I guess, Mr. Mayor, you know the situation for a long time. Okay, nothing has been done. Okay, now I have a question for all you people. Who has the right to give a permit to a company out of state to do the blasting? The fire marshal give a permit, which he knows it creates a problem. So this is something that all of your people are responsible to let the fire marshal give a permit to a company that they create a problem in the neighborhood. It's all in Northern. It gets the same problem. So is anybody can tell me why you release a permit to a company that they create a problem?
We don't engage in conversation by Robert's rules, but we do often respond after public participation.
I wanted to know because the town manager, this town manager is here, is worthless because he takes his side and it should not be because he doesn't know what's going on. I've been there 44 years. I know what's going on. Every morning you used to go to work, you see the dust, and now you are mayor. I don't see anything has been done. It keep going. Balf, when they used to own the quarry, he said, we're only going to be here 30 years. 30 years he went by. The new owner, he said, we're going to be here another 30 years. I won't be here, but my nephew will be there. And this thing here is got to stop. The blast and the dust. Because if you're not going to do, if you want us take a town to court, I mean, I will to do it. But you have to go because you release a permit to somebody creates a problem. You have to go to the person that created the problem, not us come after you people. I mean, I did it before, taking people to court, and if I have to do it, but it's your responsibility not to let the fire marshal release a permit to a company that create a problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have a caller online, Ms. Parati.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Amy Parati, 175 Hillcrest Avenue. I listened to some of the meeting on Saturday. That was a really long one for you guys, so thank you for putting in all that time listening to the department needs and ask for their budgets this year. I just was looking for a little bit of clarification when you're going over the CIP budget. I noticed that the highway and parks garage this year was 459,000 you're putting into CIP, but then over the next 4 years, the plan was to put in $2 million each year for a total of $8,459,000, which is great. I don't doubt that needs to be done or remodeled and rebuilt to fit the needs. But I'm just curious, looking at that and then knowing that the Board of Ed had requested the John Wallace renovation at $3 million a year with a 58% reimbursement rate from the state. So, under the referendum amount. So I'm just curious why that project is allowed to be planned as is and not need to go to referendum when Wallace was taken out of the CIP request due to the fact that it's, a phased project, but you have to consider the whole thing. So I was hoping you could at some point, not necessarily tonight, just in general, answer that question. Yeah, and I look forward to hearing the rest of your deliberations and your discussions surrounding the budget. Obviously, we know that the board's request has not been met, and we're trying to work really hard to meet in the middle, but looking forward to hearing your thoughts and considerations around the school board budget and the rest of the town. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Parati. You're welcome to come up. I'm managing. There's another person online too. I apologize.
A million things. Oh, please. This is second time up.
No. Welcome, Ms. Sam.
Jeez. You need your, yeah.
My name is Diane Stam from 104 Steeple Chase Drive.
Wait a second. Hang on. Oh, yeah.
I am also a member of the Board of Trustees for Lucy Robbins Wells Library under full disclosure. I want to encourage the board to consider parking and traffic in the Garfield area. Before we do any kind of renovations, as it is today, the Garfield lot fills up in the morning with employee parking. When we go to the summer months, the kids are out of school. The library has summer programs. Parks and Recs has summer programs. We don't have parking now. If we increase the size of a pool and we put it on the curb of Garfield, people are going to be parking there where there's not enough parking. People are going to flow over into the other areas. So I would strongly recommend that any proposals that go forward for pools, for expansion, seriously take into consideration parking, where it is, and what's going to happen. I agree, you can go anywhere, you can go to any parking lot, it's always filled closest to the door. So wherever the entry is to that facility is going to be the most popular parking spots. I don't think that the proposal going forward, not having for the pool in Mill Pond moving to Garfield Street is a good recommendation without making any kind of concession for parking. I'm also kind of concerned about what's happening with some of the COVID money. I know that we have an emergency operations center that is looking for funding to go through that. I know we have a fire department whose trucks cannot get inside. There's all sorts of things I think in the community, not to mention the library renovations that we would like to do that I think monies can go for it. So I would just ask that our council seriously consider all proposals and what happens from a traffic management standpoint. Right now, we still have a problem with traffic. if we do anything to increase traffic in that area, I think we need to consider what happens from that end. And one more plug for the library. You all probably, or many of you realize that the libraries spent money to purchase the 2 parcels of land that were adjacent to the library in preparation of their expansion. Expansion that's been put on hold that we hope to come forward. But that's the kind of planning that I'm talking about. That's the kind of responsibility, whether it's a town purchase and development and expansion, or the quasi-town development and expansion as the library is. I think we need to seriously think about traffic patterns and what that effect has. I don't have a problem with pools and teaching our children how to swim. I too grew up in this town. I too learned how to swim, Churchill, not Mill Pond. But as you go through that, we have 2 areas with pools. I think we can look to be creative and try to find a way to meet our town's needs without creating more of a problem in other areas. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Sam. I'm going to take a call online. Lillian Bravner.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you
Hello,
can.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Lillian Brabner, 165 Cedar Ridge Road. This is the first time I've ever even participated in a town meeting. So I spent all my life living, but I lived on the old farm area of town. And when I bought a house in Newington on my own, I bought it on Cedar Ridge. And so I was introduced to the quarry by a surprise that I had to call my neighbor and ask what happened when I first felt the first blast. Ever since then, I think I've been there about 4 years now. I've always looked online in the Facebook groups and everything that they always say that they've been checking to make sure that the quarry readings are within specs and everything like that. But there's never been any readily found information for me to be like, well, this is what the specs should be. And oh, there's that monitor. That's what specs it should be in. I got information this past week that there has been some readings about too much poisonous things in the air. I didn't realize exactly what chemicals they were. I did a quick read through, but I saw that there was readings that they did that said they were over what they should be in the air population. And I'm worried about air pollution. If they're using old equipment, that it needs to be updated so that we don't 20, 30 years down the line have a whole bunch of people with like lung cancer or other respiratory issues. I mean, we've all dealt with enough of COVID and everything else. We don't need anything else that's affecting our organs. So I'm concerned about what those levels are. And if they do test those levels, that it should be readily available to the public and it should be known and where you can find out that information and you should be able to see the test. And my problem is that right now, all this information is not too public and you start getting in pieces of it at a time. And it doesn't sound like it's the greatest information I'm getting in piecemeal. So I just want to put my 2 cents forward as another resident in town that I have a concern about the quarry and what they're putting out into the air. And that's about it. That's my time. I'm good.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room that would like to come forward?
Evening, Bernadette Conway, 177 Hartford Avenue. I'm here for 2 reasons. I came here tonight. I received a letter in the mail, an anonymous letter that there was going to be a presentation about the pool tonight, and that wasn't the case. So I'm very disappointed that I didn't get the information that I was expecting by coming here tonight. I don't know who sent it to me. I didn't RSVP, but I am here because I'm very interested in this. I literally grew up in Mill Pond Pool across the street from Mill Pond Park. And it's very important to me. I'm still a swimmer and the pools in this town are in absolutely disgusting shape. They need to be redone. They're both past their lifetimes. And it needs to be addressed without fighting about it or going back and forth too much. I'm not saying, we got to go with the first plan, but I came here with an open mind just to at least hear what the plan is and get more detail and information. So I will find another way to do so. I think there might be a meeting tomorrow night that I can go to. So, but I'm also not a commissioner. I am also on the BOF committee. And it has been very frustrating as a member of the committee, not being able to do anything when the businesses come and talk to us about the issues that they're having. We don't really have any power as the committee. We listen, and I live on that street. So this really, it interests me. It affects me, my family, and all of my neighbors, the community. So I think it has to fall within the town council and your purview to try to come up with a way to really measure the impact of this and what kind of solution we can come up with, because this is a problem. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. Anyone else that would like to come forward? We have no hands on line, so we will continue on with our agenda. The next item this evening, there was no email correspondence, correct, counselors?
There was
for the
none.
record. Next item is remarks by counselors on public participation.
You did get the mail though, right?
I did get the mail, yes.
You did get one.
We also got the same flyer that someone sent out. I'm sorry, Counselor Page?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everyone for turning out tonight in person and online. We really appreciate, as I always say, and I think all of us, I think I can speak for everyone, appreciative of our residents participating, regardless of whether we agree, disagree, or somewhere in the middle. This is what it's all about. We very sincerely appreciate your participation. I can't speak with any degree of intelligence to the ball situation, but I am promising you I'm invested in learning more about it. I've started to learn more about it tonight, and I'd like to learn more from our respective committee, our interim town manager, and those on the council, including the mayor, who know more about it than I do, so that we can respond to residents' grievances and your legitimate concerns, and for air quality and for your safety and your quality of life. As for the library and the pool, we in this town right now are suffering from a blessing of riches. We are blessed with award-winning, nationally recognized programs at our senior center, at our library, which is amazing, at our park and rec programs, which are amazing. We have so many wonderful programs happening. And as someone just alluded to, Ms. Conway, to not be fighting about our space needs, which are real, and our parking needs, which are real, and Councilor Mankey and others have alluded to this on many occasions. But I think we have an obligation as a council to come together and show leadership, to bring together these excellent staff and leaders and programs to come up with solutions for so we can accommodate growth. The motto in our town is growth and progress. It really, I think at this point, requires us to add the word smart growth and progress. We need to add smart, because we need to be, I pointed myself and those of us on the council, smart about how we can grow our town. We are looking at about a 20% increase in population, from about 30,000 to, if my numbers are correct, with the apartments and the condos and other development that's going on in town, to stabilize our grand list, which in many respects is a good thing. And people here have worked hard on planning and zoning. And as we do that, and we see a 5 or 6 or 7,000 people move into town, we are going to have more traffic. We're going to have more parking issues, and we need to come up with a solution. I've said before, and it's not just my idea, so I'm not taking full credit at all, but that we need to look at even a parking garage, for example. And I'm no urban planner or engineer at all, but we can't grow more land, and we are squeezed, obviously, in this campus. And yet we can't allow our fantastic library and our fantastic park and rec to be the Hatfields and McCoy. And we need to bring these folks together, all of us together, and develop a plan so that we can grow our library we can grow our park and rec and use, I would argue, for using the 90% of 10 or 11 million available so that we can minimize the cost to the residents. Those pools are in terrible shape. Our town highway garage, as it was pointed out on Saturday, and I didn't know this, is 40 years old. And we have an urgent problem there, and we're addressing it through the CIP. I'm almost done, Mary, I promise. It's gonna be a long night, but we need to have equal urgency or greater urgency with our pools because we have children and families swimming in those every day. And so I would urge us to come together and look through the lens of abundance and work together and solve this problem. I think we can do that. We can do it now. And this is an old problem. We're not rushing anything through. It's been around for years. So thank you for your indulgence. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor Rada?
Yes, again, as Councilor Page just said, I really appreciate everyone coming out and sharing your voice and your concerns with us. You're welcome to come to our meetings. We encourage that. Also emails, phone calls. You all have our phone numbers. We post them. I want to speak specifically to the concerns that folks have raised regarding Golf Quarry. And I have a couple of questions. How that committee can be organized or reorganized so that meetings are not canceled, so that schedules are posted so that people can come to those meetings. I want to learn more about this. I see it as a public health concern and how we can engage more with our local health district to gather more information. Thank you very much, Ms. Bonkel, for what you presented and were able to give to us this evening. As a researcher and also as a nurse myself, I want more information. I want more data, and I want to hear more of what's going on and what can be done. So any information I can gather, James, any information that you can give us, I think will be very, very informative, and I'd like to continue to follow up on this.
Make one comment about your comments.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm sorry. We have our rules that we're governed by, and I can't allow that. I apologize. But your email is online and your contact information,
Email
certainly.
or give
Or
me a
all of
call.
us, if you'd like, certainly.
We just need to have a golf rep and a health department rep at the golf meeting. That makes sense. So.
Next was, I'm sorry, I lost my screen here.
Me.
I think it was Councilor
Councilor
Menke.
Menke.
See, I raised my hand too. This time.
Good job.
I've been practicing all good job since Saturday. I just would like to thank everybody who came out and spoke. We always like to hear from the public. It's kind of what we're here for. Nobody works hard to get to sit at this table without wanting to listen to the public. As far as the comments about the budget, budgets are always difficult for everybody. Budgets are hard on everybody. They're hard on us personally, I guess, and they're hard on us in groups. We are doing our best to work through the budget, and we're hoping to get to the finish on April 18th, I believe is the date for the finish. So there is probably more to the budget to come, not tonight probably, but as time goes on. As far as BOLF, I'm wondering if James, if you could get us just a brief description from the fire marshal and the health district about the issue, and maybe just a brief, not, a couple pages email, just so we can kind of all get up to speed on where we are. And also, I believe, I just checked, I think the BOLF committee is fully staffed, except there are two vacancies for alternative people. Alternates. Correct. So I don't know if they're Republican alternates or Democratic alternates, but.
Two alternates would be one of each party.
Okay, so if you could just let Mitch and I know, we can see if we can get those. I also think Councilor Braverman's on there too. We need to get her replaced so that we can have a forum. It's difficult to have a meeting if you don't have the right people on the committee. So if we can get Sharon Braverman replaced, and then the two alternates would at least have us have a meeting. So I'd appreciate that. And it just, as far as letters, I think most of us got a letter. Everybody in the council got a letter? No, you didn't get a letter. Sorry.
Yeah, you didn't get one.
I'll let you can read my letter, but we all did get letters. I appreciate letters about the pool. I would just think if you send me a letter, you ought to sign it, so I know who's sending it. A letter that's anonymous is great, and it had some information that I thought was interesting, but there's no way for me to follow up
Right.
with that information because there's nobody to follow up with. So just if you are gonna send me a letter, sign it so that I know who I can get back to. That's all I have, sorry.
Counselor Donahue?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on, a few comments. First of all, the Mill Pond Building Committee, when it came up the last time, I believe the project was in the range of $19 million and in the same spot. Okay. The council didn't like the spot it was in. We were asked to go back and work on it. I tried to pull together another committee meeting. The committee response was, well, apparently the town council doesn't have an appetite for this. So what's, why continue? And I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to continue, that's fine. It's always come back being the same spot, the same. And we've said, it can be put somewhere else. It might cost a few more dollars to put it somewhere else, but it can be put somewhere else. So there's a meeting tomorrow. It is Zoom, so don't show up. It's all gonna be Zoom. And we will, we'll see the plan. We'll have some discussion. I have some questions for Bill that I'm working on. So we will go over it then. As Tim said, the budgets are hard. I don't think it has anything to do with the Republican mayor or a Democratic mayor, to be perfectly honest with you. We have half the population that has kids in school, and in school is very important. We have half the population that don't have kids in school and they're concerned about taxes. So we up here, the 9 of us, have to weigh both of those. And we take it very seriously. So I don't think it has anything to do with the party affiliation. And I think the last one was, and it was just a question for me, even though the town garage is being budgeted, it would still have to go through referendum before we built it. Right,
Yeah.
and follow all the procedures at 824 and all that stuff. So it's not, we're putting the money in there and we're gonna build it without following process.
We will follow the process, and I did raise this question myself earlier today in looking at CIP, and I'm gonna ask for, I'm probably gonna be talking to our town attorney about it because he's made some statements. The charter was revised to allow for spending up to a certain amount. It was also revised so that it's not a special appropriation if it's in, and I have to review the language. If it's budgeted for versus if it was a special appropriation, that was always the question in the past. So I will review the new language with the attorney and just try to get us a better clarification on that. When Ms. Parati mentioned it, I was gonna comment on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because with the John Wallace project is something that we need to consider, and I'll talk about that later when I comment, but yes, we will be checking into that. Are you all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Just regarding law, I think up to about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was liaison, and I attended some of those meetings, and you guys were, but I'm not the liaison anymore. So, but the same, in regards to, because I remember after the last meeting, I did call the town manager and Rob Hillman. I believe Rob's the
Liaison for the
town
EQC.
Manager liaison. Asking him about the readings. And he indicated that at that point, there had been discussions directly with Barbara, is it Barbara or Carol from the CCD? And that this is where I'm getting confused, because in some conversations, she's saying that there's an issue, but then I was hearing that, well, it was still below level. So there seems to be conflicting information. So I think having a meeting once a year is not working. It's not working. But at those meetings before, and again, I don't know about now, but there used to be Barbara somebody from CCD, and there used to be the fire marshal. In regards to the other counselors' requests to getting information, I think what really before you even have a meeting, we know that there's an issue, and we know people are questioning the standards. We know people are questioning the air pollution, the strength of the blast, whatever. I don't know whether it even has to be done in a meeting. If you and the fire commissioner, the health CCD, get what are the current standards? the fire department or the fire marshal has the readings, because remember, they used to go over, once a year, we'd say, okay, we blasted on March and June and July, and he'd give you, but that was it. There was really nothing more beyond that. So he's got the data.
Yeah.
And compare it to what the standards are. The health commission, they're based on the meter, has the readings, what the standards are, and have them as experts get together and say, is this an issue? And if not, and who sets the standards? I don't believe it's the town of Newington. I believe it's the state. But I think just coming together once a year and everybody saying, yeah, it's an issue, and then somebody saying, yeah, well, it meets the standards. There's no, somebody mentioned here data to support it. So I think actually we don't need to wait for another meeting to be called. Maybe there's some information that you could start getting right now.
I'll work with the fire marshal on that. We actually do have a follow-up meeting scheduled for April 10th.
But and the CCD, and that Barbara, CCHD. Because maybe we need another, somebody, I think that's one meeting, maybe it was even Joyce suggested maybe having another meter. You know, maybe more than one, because there's only one meter now, maybe have another meter.
Okay, but they used to have a meeting once a month. From once a month, I don't know what happened, they go once a year. I think it's not enough.
Yeah, once a year, I
The
don't.
summertime, I think worse. That's why we should have.
So we could reevaluate, you know, that too as well, but right now, I don't think we even need a meeting to start gathering some of the information and then, you know, go from there, but I recognize you all and I realize too, I feel bad that you're still here, but and also, you know, the BOLF representative, but I don't think the BOLF representative has to be in your information gathering, because you've got the fire marshal and you've got the CCHD.
I want to apologize.
No,
I'm out of line, but the thing is here.
We cannot have dialogue back and forth. That's just not how we run. I apologize, but we need to continue on.
But seismographic number, they should be out of the tape, not written in pencil, like I got from my farm.
Deputy Mayor Patricia, you have the floor.
Okay, so anyways, that's number one, and then number two, I agree with, Counselor Page, and I think there's a little bit of a difference in our personalities, and I think you're the eternal optimist, I'm more of a pessimist, but I like the how.
You're real.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. I like your phraseology about looking at things through a lens of abundance, but we also have to look at it with an eye to the resources as well. So I'm sure we can come to a balance, but there are two sides of the scale. That's it.
All right. I'll just add a few comments before we move on. Also, I'll go through my notes here. So in terms of the BOLF piece, I agree. I think there's a couple of pieces of information that you alluded to that we need as a council, because we are not briefed on that. So we were not aware that there were readings out of line. So I'm thankful that you all came forward tonight to bring it to our attention so that we can at least check on it and get some more information, and find out what our resources are telling us too. So James, if you could gather that information that was mentioned, the readings, and I would like to know from CCHD, I agree, they need to weigh in on where we're at with that and what we need to do. I know in the past I had stopped by the businesses there, and I do drive by there every day on the way to work, because this doesn't pay me, so I still have a job. That has to pay me, I gotta get paid. So I do still drive by. And when the dust was bad, or even when I notice it, when I drive through sometimes, I used to contact the town manager, and the town manager would contact the quarry. And, sometimes we'd find out that the watering truck was broken or the sweeper was broken, and there was a reason why. Sometimes it was just a friendly reminder from the town to say, hey, get back out there with the sweeper, with the watering and that kind of thing. So those are the things that we can also do just as reminders to the quarry to make sure that they are following those procedures that are in place to keep the dust down and work on that. That is something we had done in the past, and we can continue that. Ms. Lyons asked a question, a very pointed question earlier about the ARPA funds. And I know that there has been a lot out there on Facebook and in the mailings and all kinds of things, the editorials about the ARPA funds. There's $4 million that are still unexpended, unencumbered on the town side. And I'm saying, to my knowledge, there is no written agreement. There was no vote taken by this body. There has never been a commitment to any of those $4 million going solely to one project. And I can only speak from what I know to be true. And if someone else has any other information, I would ask that you please share it. But any expenditure of the ARPA funds has to come through the council for a vote. So if Mr. Chapman, the former town manager, said that in a meeting or did make some statement about that. I asked Ms. Murphy, she said absolutely, she did not agree to that, but she may have been asked if that could be the case, but she did not agree to anything or promise anything. So that's still up in the air as to what those funds will be used for. Let's see, the school budget question. I just wanted to say that the budget that is before this council was brought to us from the town manager. He brings to us a budget that includes revenue as well as our debt service, as well as all of our expenditures on the town side and the Board of Ed side. Each year, the Board of Education requests a certain level of increase. The town manager then can change it, keep it, do it, increase it, decrease it, whatever he wants before he brings it to us. The budget that is before us to consider is an increase to the Board of Ed's current budget of 3.5%, and it's approximately $2.7 million increase. So I just wanted to make sure when we talk about cutting their budget, we're not going anywhere near what they have this year or below it. There is an increase that is before this council for consideration, and it's 2.7 and change. So I just wanted $1 million. I just want to make sure that that's kind of understood in terms of the process. This body just finished hearing all of the department presentations, including the Board of Ed presentation earlier in the process. This past Saturday, we had a meeting and finished hearing all of it. So now we start on our own looking through those line items and figuring out, you know, which things make sense to us, which things don't, asking questions, trying to figure out where we're going to go with the budget. If there are additions, subtractions, whatever's going to happen. Those changes can take place between now and April 18th. Typically, the final changes are done on the 18th, and the mill rate and budget are adopted and set at that meeting, just to give folks the timeline. Our next budget meeting specifically is next Tuesday, April 4th. And then the following one is the April 18th meeting. So if anyone wants to come and weigh in or listen in on the conversations, deliberations, kind of what we're talking about in terms of additions or subtractions, those are the two meetings that would be open for that at 6:30. I think right now it's 6 o'clock. I think we're going to change it later. The public hearing next Tuesday would be my presentation going through the budget slides that the town manager had brought to us. Unless there's changes made tonight, it would be a very similar presentation from what the town manager showed us. And let's see if there was anything else. Mill Pond, you already touched on. The John Wallace Middle School project, I did want to mention at least because the Board of Ed did request us to look at that. It was not brought forward to the council in the current budget. We have requested through our agenda setting meeting earlier today to have an executive session regarding the safety and that ask of the Board of Education. So that's going to be scheduled for hopefully the April 4th meeting in an executive session to discuss safety and concerns. So just if Ms. Parati's still listening, that is going to be brought forward and we'll talk more about that. And I think that's all in terms of what was mentioned earlier. Okay. And now we'll get into the meat of the agenda. Consideration of old business. We have first the ordinance adoption, for property tax exemption for Gold Star parents and spouses. We did hold our public hearing earlier this evening. There was no public comment brought forward. And councilors, as you know, we've talked about this one a few times. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So I would open and ask if there's any further council comment or question on this item. All right, who would like to go ahead and read that? Yes, please, Deputy Mayor Pacheco.
Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby approves the amendment to the Newington Code of Ordinances, Chapter 388, Article 8, Property Tax Exemption for Gold Star Parents and Spouses. Copy of said ordinance is attached to this resolution.
Second.
Second by Councilor Rada. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Councilor Nagel absent.
Do that in recording.
Next item this evening is the ordinance adoption for the tax relief program for certain homeowners age 65 or over and permanently or.
Change that.
I'm reading the wrong one.
Low income veterans exemption. We made that change.
Yep, and I'm looking at my old agenda. I apologize. All right, next item this evening is the adoption of the amendments for low-income veterans exemption, amendment to Article 3. We did discuss this at a couple of previous meetings. And we did have the public hearing earlier. There was no public comment brought forward for consideration. Any councilors have any comment or question? Counselor Page? No? Okay. Oh, you'd like to read it? Go right ahead.
Unless someone.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby approves the amendment to the Newington Code of Ordinances, Chapter 388, Taxation, Article 3, Low Income Veterans Exemption. A copy of said ordinance is attached to this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Donahue. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, I would just say I always am glad to see that we're making sure that we're meeting the needs of our veterans. This is always, as you know, I've been pretty involved with our veterans organizations in town. I'm glad to see we're trying to stay up to date and current in our language so that as the real purpose of these is so that as the town, as we continue forward, we won't have to change our ordinances to keep up with the language at the state when their statutes update. So that was one of the reasons we addressed some of these. And the gold star one that we just voted on was also already in the state statutes, but we hadn't formally adopted it. So we're getting a lot done in the area of getting up to date. Any other comment or question? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Nagel absent. And next item this evening, we are looking to introduce the ordinance and set the public hearing for the municipal option to exempt certain motor vehicles. Because we are introducing the ordinance, there's no discussion on this item this evening. Who would like to, Counselor Donahue?
Introduction. I hereby introduce for the town council's consideration the proposed ordinance amendment to chapter 388 taxation, article 5 municipal option to exempt certain motor vehicles, FKA-ambulance type motor vehicle exemption, a copy of which has been filed with the clerk of the council.
You, and then you can continue on.
Newington Town Council hereby schedules a public hearing on April 18th, 2023 at 6:50 PM to consider the proposed ordinance amendment, chapter 388 taxation, article 5, municipal option to exempt certain motor vehicles, FKA ambulance type motor vehicle exemption, a copy of which is attached to this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Ernest. Any further discussion? Oh, there's no discussion. I apologize. Bad habit. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Nagel absent. Next item this evening is the ordinance. We're looking to introduce the ordinance and set the public hearing for ordinance amendment regarding tax relief program for certain homeowners age 65 or over and permanently or totally disabled.
I'll read in.
Thank you, Counselor Rada.
Introduction. I hereby introduce for the town council's consideration the proposed ordinance amendment, chapter 388, taxation, article 3, tax relief program for certain homeowners age 65 or over or permanently or totally disabled, copy of which has been filed with the clerk of the council. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby schedules a public hearing on April 18th, 2023 at 6:40 PM to consider the proposed ordinance amendment, chapter 388, taxation,
Stop you right
article
there.
3.
Can I stop you right there and make
Yes.
that 9?
Which
Article, read that as Article 9 for me, please.
Oh.
I just noticed I'm looking at my local income veterans and that one is Article 3.
okay.
And I'm going, I already did Article 3. What's going on?
Okay.
So do you need her to amend the introduction to Article 9 as well?
If she
I
would-
will
Okay.
amend my resolution to state chapter 388 taxation, article 9, tax relief program for certain homeowners age 65 or over or permanently or totally disabled, a copy of which is attached to this resolution. And I would like to amend the introduction that instead of Article 3, it should be Article 9.
Perfect, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Camillo. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Nagel absent. All right. Next item is request for bid waiver for Blue Wing Services Public Safety Radio Project. Let me just get there in my packet. Councilors, you'll remember we did discuss this at our last meeting. This is a company that has been working with the town on phase 1 of the public safety radio project. And the cost of their services is just above what would require an outside bid because they've already been so involved in the project and have provided high quality services to the town. It was brought to us feeling that they would be an invaluable resource to lose through this process, and we have been requested to do the bid waiver to make sure we can keep them on board for phase 2. Is there anything else that we should add?
No, that's quite accurate. I've worked with them. We had our first meeting at Norcom in Naugatuck. They were just jumping right in there, digging in as deeply as they could to make sure we were covered. We were busy reviewing a lot of the materials that were proposed under the lease, and there were a couple of questions that did come up. One specifically being the amount of radios and the amount of extra batteries that we were ordering all at the same time. While they're beneficial for the fire department, they would just sit around in the town side. So it's a piece that we are discussing with them over multiple meetings. And we should have that to the lease company for Friday to be able to place the order. So they're working very hard for us.
That's great. Who would like to read this motion in for us?
I just had a comment.
Oh.
I can read it if you want. I can make the comment.
Sure. Go right ahead.
I raised my hand and everything. Resolve, whereas the town council has the power under section 814, the Newington Charter, to waive the process of procuring sealed bids, and whereas town personnel have determined that the proposed consultant services to be provided by Blue Wing Services is an important matter of public safety for the town of Newington. And now therefore be it resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby grants a waiver from the requirement of sealed bids for the proposed consult services to be provided by Blue Wing Services for the town of Newington. And be it further resolved that the bid waiver to Blue Wing Services of Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania is granted based upon the supplied document entitled Proposal Phase 2 Radio Systems Consulting Services dated December 19th, 2022.
Seconded by Counselor Annis. I had to give her one, John.
Right? Like I'm gonna throw my PC and walk out.
All right. Any questions, counselors? Counselor May.
I just would point out, this does not delay the project at all by going out. We were gonna go with a consultant anyway. This is the same consultant we had for the first phase, so it makes sense to use the same consultant for the second phase. It would be silly to get another consultant and start the whole process over again. So this just expedites this long, drawn-out process that needs to be long and drawn out because of the complexity of it. So I just would assure everybody we're working as hard as we can to get these radios up and running. I know people would like them up and running like yesterday, and I'm sure we would like to get it off our docket. But this moves the process along and doesn't delay it at all.
That's a good point. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Nagel absent. Next item this evening is department budget review, miscellaneous programs not previously discussed. As far as I know, we have discussed all programs.
That is correct. So as of tonight, as long as no corrections are made to the budget, we will be advertising your tentative budget without changes, which was my original. And that will be part of your public hearing on April 4th.
Okay. Counselors, Counselor Page?
Just one comment, and you've already stated it, Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate to assure the public, as I've learned this process just for the second time doing this, that while the town manager has presented his proposed budget, this council will present our proposed budget on the 4th. It doesn't mean that either side agreed to everything in that budget, Republican or Democrat. And because some people have contacted me and said, what do you mean you're going to present your budget on the 4th and that's it? And, some people need to be reassured that we will have ongoing discussions. And as you, Mayor, pointed out, that on or before the 18th, we'll hopefully have dialogue and argue and wrangle over, how we can yield the best bang for the buck for all residents and meet the needs best way we can. So I just wanted to state the obvious that but some folks in the community don't. So
yeah, thank you.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other council comment or question on that? I think we're set. We don't have anything else to review, so.
Right.
Okay, we'll continue on. The next item this evening is for us to set the tentative town council budget for 2023, 2024. And as Councilor Page mentioned, essentially right now, the budget that we've reviewed has been the town manager's budget. He brought that forward, has presented it to us. Now that we've reviewed all areas of it and have received the budget in its entirety in terms of information regarding it, it is now this council's job to kind of take ownership is the way I think of it. So by setting this as our tentative budget, we're taking ownership of it now. And then once this happens, we are able to then make changes to it. Up to this point, it was the town manager's budget. We couldn't make changes. We couldn't do anything to it other than receive it. So now that we've received all the information, we are looking to, I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and set. Oh, there's no motion. I'm
No
sorry.
motion on this one,
So sorry.
just automatically happens.
It just automatically happens. Isn't it nice when that happens?
Those are nice ones, yes.
So as of
Approving
this
it, that's
evening,
another story.
So as of this evening, because all of the reviews have taken place, this is now, the budget has become our tentative town council budget. On April 4th, as I mentioned, next Tuesday at 6:30, I will present the slides again to review the budget with the public so that they will have another second opportunity. Our town charter requires that we have 2 public hearings regarding the budget. One done by the town manager, and then once the council has their tentative budget, it's done by the mayor. And then we will have open discussion on it at the next public hearing next week, as well as always opportunities during public participation during our council meetings to weigh in when people want to as well. Okay. Anything else, councilors? Okay, we'll continue on. The next item this evening was one that we had added, which is to amend the town council budget meeting schedule. And I had mentioned this earlier. This was my personal request, as I'm the one presenting at 6 p.m. I'm requesting that the budget presentation typically takes about 15-20 minutes. So I am requesting that the council consider changing the time of the meeting to 6:30. I did have a death of a very close friend of our family, and we are going to be attending the wake that evening, so that would allow me a little extra time to be able to pay my respects and spend some time with family. So if the council is amenable to that, there is a motion for us to consider. Councilor Page?
First of all, condolences to you, Mayor, and to
Thank you.
the family. That's tragic, and I'm very sorry. And I think we should do this. You've said this earlier. I just want to, so again, the public knows, because we may get contact from folks that say, wait a second, you're taking a half hour out of the public hearing. We want to have our say.
Yeah.
And you reassured me, of course, that we will extend the public hearing as needed. So
Absolutely.
if people see the date, the time has changed, we are not going to take people's time away to speak on the budget.
Correct.
Pro, con, or whatever opinion you have.
That's right. And our 7 o'clock meeting, whenever there's a public hearing before it, it's always posted as the start time will be 7 p.m. or following the public hearing. No earlier than 7, but 7 p.m. or following. So if the public hearing needs to be longer, if there's more public input that we need to hear, we will absolutely hear it until it's in its entirety and until it's done. And then we'll start our meeting.
Just like this evening's agenda.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. Who is willing to go ahead and read that motion? Thank you, Councilor Retta.
Resolved, the Newington Town Council pursuant to section 805 of the Newington Town Charter hereby revises the start time of the Newington Town Council, proposed budget public hearing for fiscal year 2023-2024, scheduled for April 4th, 2023, as indicated below. Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. Town Council's proposed budget.
Second.
Second by Councilor Donahue. Any other discussion? I would just say thank you, councilors, for allowing me that extra time. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Councilor Nagel absent. We are now moving on to refunds. The approval of March 28th, 2023. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Resolve that property tax refunds in the amount of $2,287.55 are hereby approved in the individual amounts, and for those named on the request for refund of an overpayment of taxes certified by the revenue collector, a list of which is attached to this resolution.
Second.
Second by Councilor Rada. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Councilor Nagel absent. Next item is approval of minutes. I don't know if we can do this without Dave.
I know, without Dave.
Who do we blame if they're wrong?
I know.
Dave, we're gonna blame Dave.
Let's blame Dave.
When in doubt, blame Dave.
Counselor Nagel's always our proofreader. I love it. We do have before us, I'll entertain a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of March 7th, 2023 and March 14th, 2023 public hearing meeting minutes, March 14th, 2023 public hearing minutes on Commission on Aging and Disabled, and March 14th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Menke. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Anist. Any discussion, counselors? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Nagel absent. Next item, we're moving into new business, and we have this evening for consideration for presentation, the annual Fair Housing Month resolution. I'll turn this one over to you, James.
Certainly. This is an annual event for us. Every year in April is Fair Housing Month. So the town is expected to recertify its support for fair housing within the town. This is actually a document that's included with developers and individuals that our town planner will reach out to that are interested in coming to Newington. So this will be one of the rare times where we actually get it in at almost the beginning of April for the entire month. Usually we end up at the last meeting, so
That's true.
it'll be nice to actually have this set ahead of time for him. And we'll get those documents properly signed and posted once we've adopted.
We have that draft in front of us for our consideration. Counselors, do you have any questions? Yes.
I would just, is it time to make a comment or is that after? Yeah, okay, just, thank you, Mary. Just wanted to say that I think this is an opportunity to just point out that by this council and by folks in town, their efforts have been made to continue to promulgate affordable housing as well. And sometimes that term consistent with this document, but sometimes this term is maligned or thought of in a pejorative way. And I think that I just embrace this resolution, and I think we need to continue our good efforts to make housing available to all in Newington and throughout Connecticut. It's one of the things that's right now an impediment to economic development and growth in our state, and we have some of the greatest differentiation. I'm looking for the right word. It's discrepancy and between those who can and can't afford housing. So I welcome this, and I know not just in the spirit of the letter that we'll move forward on this. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm glad to hear we're doing it on time this year. We do this every year, but
It's always like,
we're always late, so it's nice to see that we're gonna get this in early this year. Great. All right, so we'll move that to our next agenda for action. And then on the 4th, right? And then the next item is for fiscal year 2024 State Historic Documents Grant Program application. This is another one that we've seen in the past.
Yes. So normally I would have my acting town clerk here, but she's on her honeymoon. So I wasn't going to make her come back all the way to do this.
That's kind of you.
I thought so too. She's enjoying herself in Antigua. So we are going to be continuing the same grant application that we put in last year, which is the conversion of the large volume books. We are actually, I believe, down to the last 32 volumes for imaging. We'll be turning the rest of those over to our land record company, who will actually be taking and doing our indexing and linking of those online. But this will allow us to recreate all of those binders. So we will have actually from volume 1 straight through current day, fully accessible to the public. Once the land records company has finished that, everything will be available 24 hours a day on our portal. Makes life a lot easier and a little less traffic coming into the office as well.
Well, I like the point you had made when we talked about this earlier, that this makes it accessible for those folks that they can work anytime. It's making it so much easier for those folks that need those records. It really is a good opportunity for, we don't have to have everybody running into town hall. Yes, Councilor Annis.
You're gonna actually be able to see the actual documents or just the index?
If you are a subscriber to the land record system, then you would be able to see the imaging as well as the index. The indexes are free online automatically.
Right, so it won't be that the word draft is written over it.
No, I don't do draft across things. When you're a subscriber, you have direct
A lot of
access.
towns copy
I know.
of the draft, and it just makes it a lot easier if
Yeah.
you just want to confirm a name or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you.
No, we have been talking about that. We're still on their old version software. And that's because they have a software that we are utilizing in Office for printing that they haven't had working for their new Record Hub portal versus their Resolution 3. So, but as we had talked about, one of the benefits of having everything online is also the fact that there's less of an impact to us in-house for supplies. Printing costs, paper, toner, they can take and save as a digital file in their records, no printing required in our office. So,
Counselor Menke?
It just seems like this is one of those things we do every April with the fair housing.
Correct.
So,
we got this one in early too.
So we got it in early. Is this the last of it, or do we still have more to document, more books to go through?
These will be all of the land record books.
Okay.
That's not to say we don't have other books to do.
So the plan is to continue this grant to copy other things?
Oh, yes. Next year's will most likely be the continuation of the cover replacement that we did in 2 previous years back. After that, we'll probably be looking at a continuation of the minutes packets that we've been doing. And we do have quite a few of those done already, but there are still some that are in file cabinets that I would really like on archival paper. But every year it's available to us. We've got the benefit of this year of, based upon all of the additional funding from COVID, we're seeing a $500 increase in the grant amount from the state this year as well. So helps us in that long run, and the use of our preservation funds that we get from the recordings will make this project finally completed.
Nice.
So.
Counselor Rada?
Just out of curiosity,
Rid of the books.
I know, I had asked you that before. I know, I'm a historian at heart.
Yeah.
But, yeah, where will those be housed? Not at the, I'm not asking about the library.
No, those would be under a request through the state library to transfer them to state archives. Yeah. So they would be preserved.
We're just gonna put them in the parking lot.
There's a shed.
Yeah, there's a shed.
Yeah, no, we would have that conversation with the state library to verify those records that are available and make sure they have the space available for them. Yes, and then eventually I'll add on to that. Once that project's completed, we'll actually be recreating all of our indexes as well. So our older indexes that go back to 1871, those would be brand new books available for the public, and we'd look to transfer those books off, but we'd probably keep some imaging in-house as well on those because they have some historical significance to us. Yeah, the old handwritten books and the grantor and grantee indexes on the same pages. So they're an interesting piece to look at.
Okay, thank you.
So, you're welcome.
All right, so we will move this to our next agenda for action at the April 4th meeting. Next item this evening is written and oral communications from the town manager.
And I'm almost, we're 97% there to national welding right now, waiting on one piece from the DECD agent on the affordable housing component. Hopefully we'll see that completed and executed in the middle of April.
What's the timeline on the extension on that?
We're out to May 20th, I believe it is. I have to look at that. It comes up quickly. That's why
It does. That's
I
why
want to
I'm
get that done and out of the way.
Yep.
Additionally, we have made a conditional offer for a town engineer,
Great.
thankfully. So we're just waiting on a background check to make the final offer. So hopefully we
Wonderful.
will see him on board with us in April as well, which will allow us to get going on a lot of those projects that Gary was working on before he left us.
Great.
Other than that, I can't believe it's 8:33 and
Any comment or question from the town manager? Okay. Next item this evening is council liaison committee reports. Councilor Nagel's not here, so who else?
It's osmosis.
Deputy Mayor Draco.
Okay. Well, Counselor Kim and I attended the meeting. And just a few highlights that were given. First is they're looking to change the zoning along Willard Avenue by the alumni, because right now it's commercial and they want to be able to allow personal services there because there's, you know, some empty buildings and there has been some outreach by people who want, like, you know, barber shops or beauty salons or tailors, whatever, and whatever falls into the realm of personal service. So they're looking to change that zoning. That would also help fill up some of the vacant building space. And there were questions regarding 3333 Berlin Turnpike. There's a slight need where they have to do some reconfiguration on the sidewalks and parking, but they're working with the developer, so it's not really going to impact anything. There was an article or something on Facebook today, so it must be true. But I guess there's, the speculation has been kind of narrowed down to who the grocery store is going to be. It was Whole Foods or some German, that would be the first in the United States. Similar to an Aldi, but it was, but just look on Facebook.
Place
you'll
your
find
bets.
it.
Place your
Place
bets.
Probably a no, because they looked at us before and that's why they went to Glastonbury, so.
Okay, so maybe it's this other one, but anyways, it'll probably be
People think
Stop
we're,
and shop.
people think we're keeping a secret. We have no idea.
No idea.
Little convenience store. There also, some questions came up regarding the clear cutting of trees by Bertucci's. Like people were saying, what's going on? Well, first of all, that's not town property.
Right.
But, apparently, most of those trees were supposedly distressed and diseased, but in any event, the building itself is on the market. And the town planner and the economic development team here in town is trying to work with the owner to make sure that there's some good development that goes in there. Keeney Manufacturing, the town planner has met with the new town planner has met with the developer, just trying to keep the lines of communication open and help them if there's any questions or guidance as they move along. And then the final thing was the property behind Citgo off the turnpike, more clear cutting of trees. People were kind of, around town, I've heard a lot of things, upset about that. But again, it's not town property. It's owned by Citgo and it's zoned as business. And if, at first, like, I was even like, what the heck, there's a lot, it's residential area. But if you keep going down Kitts, there, you've got the back of Enterprise, you've got some kind of sound thing, you got the old, can I get massage? So that is kind of like that part of the Kitts is business, but there was certainly no announcement of what the plans that Citgo has for that.
I can confirm that as well. We had that same conversation this morning. They just cleaned the site for marketing, but no plans for that one yet.
Anything I forgot, Kim?
Well, they announced that on April 6th, the person involved in the Keeney developer, that way, is going to be making a presentation to the Economic Development Commission, which I think we will sit on as liaisons, so we'll report back on that. And there was a question that was raised regarding the number of cars at 1910 and 1934 Main Street. Have you heard anything? One of the commissioners had raised that.
That was directly by the park, correct? If I remember correctly, 1901 is outside, so yeah, that would be
1910 and
the green space area behind most likely.
Okay, yeah, so there was a question
I haven't
of
gotten any notice on that.
the number of cars that are there and what was being done. Other than that, no, I think we've covered it.
I'll just add into the Keeney property as well. Yes, there is that meeting on the April 6th. I'll actually be going to the building with the developer and the town planner prior to that meeting as well. So we'll be able to have an update on that as well.
Good. Councilor, are you all set then, or do you have anything else?
I was going to, along with Councilor Mankey, we could do the Parks and Rec report. I sat in via Zoom. He was there in person.
Was there in person?
They may or may not have seen me, but I was there. And we can just tag team this. There was an update, the geotechnician update for Mill Pond Park, talking about water tables, and provided some information regarding the space and what may or may not be able to be accomplished there. 2 proclamation requests that I guess we will be receiving. One, the 33rd anniversary of the National ADA, and in July is National Parks and Rec Month.
Both are added.
And then the Beechwood Park ribbon cutting on April 15th.
15th, right.
What else? What did I forget?
Someone spoke about the cost of renting the basketball
Yes.
courts. So the commission took a look at that and had a discussion with one of the coaches for the team. The team, I guess there's a couple of teams that play the men's league, and they've been dwindling because of the cost of renting the facility.
Heard the same thing about the women's softball league in town a while back too,
Really?
that they were moving to other towns because of the costs. So that was a concern brought up back then too. That was maybe 2 years ago now.
May I make a comment about that too?
Certainly.
Recently, someone who brings their son to the Little League in West Hartford made a similar comment. I didn't know that. They said that the cost for each of the items and so forth to participate are actually higher in Newington and West Hartford. I don't know how they finance it, but it's a similar concern. So maybe we should look at that.
Yeah. And the Parks Board has full,
Control on
they
that.
have full
control over
control
the
over setting the
Parks
fees
Board,
for
yeah.
those. But we may have to just talk with them and just see if we can, you know, at least start a dialogue about it. All right. Any other council liaison committee reports? All right, we'll continue on now to public participation. Any member of the public, either in the room or online, is welcome to come forward, and we just ask that you state your name and address for the record. Welcome, Mr. Tallard.
Nice tie, I like it. Thank you, sir. Always dressed so sharp. Really good. I'm impressed. John, how's everything?
Fantastic.
I'm surprised you didn't resign January 24th when you tried to attack
I'll just
the.
remind you that we do not engage with members of the public. It's his turn at public participation.
You're interrupting me. Excuse me, I pay taxes. Did you pay taxes last year, Beth? No, last October, you said you didn't want to pay any taxes as payment for your job as mayor. And I have it on tape, Beth, so please don't look at me weird, okay? You're insulting my intelligence. But John, you tried to attack the citizenry of the town of Newington, and you had your sidekick over here and Dave restrain you from jumping over the counter because there was a guy sitting back of me who made a comment like, because you rigged the election because Susie over here should not be here and there should be John Trister should be here. You kind of rigged the election. Basically, it's like, let's say the Republicans nominate Donald Trump. Well, I call him Orange Boy. Donald Trump as the presidential nominee. And Democrats say, now we're going to put Mike Pence in there. We're going to run against Mike Pence or Nikki Haley or DeSantis. You know, so that's kind of like really, I feel like I live in a totalitarian town right now, if you know what that definition of the word is. Beth. That's right, you guys can't talk. I think you're doing a great job, guys. Mitch, Kim, really, thank you. You're always up on things. And Beth, I got a quote from here, because there's going to be about like 1,000 apartments being built. I don't know, is anybody, yes, right, you can't talk about A&R building, what's going on. I know that Igor is blocking that in court right now because A&R building, they're about the most corrupt company, from Pennsylvania that are trying to build on Culver Street. So apparently that's still in limbo. But that would be about 1,000 apartments all total. And you figure maybe 2 cars. And Beth, I have a quote from you. You said you're afraid to drive on Cedar Street because there's too much traffic. And I have that also on videotape, so please don't deny what I'm saying to you. Okay, you're gonna insult me. That wouldn't be nice. Great to look at me, are you, Beth? Huh? Yeah. So John, you didn't resign because of that. You should have. You tried to attack somebody. I mean, really, okay, I can call for everybody's resignation. You guys should resign. Tim, you too. You can't attack somebody, really. You had to be restrained by your compadres.
Okay.
Well, I was here.
I believe you.
4 eyes. I saw everything that went on.
Thank you.
Yeah. You really should resign. Beth, if that was somebody else on the Democratic side, I bet you'd call for their resignation or them to be censured or something that.
Mr. Tallard, 3 minutes is up. I would ask respectfully that you wrap up your comments.
A lot of people went over by 1 or 2 minutes, so just relax, Beth, okay?
Please don't tell me to relax. It's very disrespectful.
You're
Your
been
time is
disrespectful
up
to
and
me
it's up
because
to me
you're
by our
denying, I'm
council rules of
quoting you. I have you on
procedure.
videotape and I'm
Council rules of
quoting you.
procedure indicate that I have the right to extend 30 seconds if I so choose, Mr. Tallard. That's what our governing rules allow for. You are at 30 seconds over your time. Thank you and have a good evening.
Well, Beth,
At this point, I will move on to remarks by
talking.
council.
There was 24 trees
Actually, we have
cut down
someone
there,
online. I
Gail.
apologize. There is
Gail?
someone online that would like to speak. So the number is ending in 070. That I believe is Ms. Lyons. Welcome.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I would like to thank you, Mayor Del Buono, for answering my question that I have asked over and over again about these funds. I know that there's a lot of misinformation and no information being given out, and I hope after the meeting tomorrow night that something can be done. With all due respect to Councilor Donahue, I understand that probably after the meeting in August of 2021, it was of his opinion and maybe others on the committee that the town council wasn't behind an $18 million project, which I think was in 2 phases or something. But having sat through 4 years of town hall renovations and 4 different committees, I think that it would have been incumbent upon him to bring that information back to the town council, that these members of the committee were no longer interested in sitting and listening to any more plans. It seems to me that the Parks and Rec Department continued to think that perhaps they might have a chance to get these pools up and running. But that being said, I also understand how the council feels because I was there at a CIP meeting when, and not because of anything of his misdoing. Mr. DeMeo was given the impression that he should bring his $19 million project to the CIP committee shortly after he came to be our superintendent. So I think over the years, over the last 5, 6 years, 10 years, whatever, even since the original master plan was compiled, that there has been a real lack of communication between the Parks and Rec Department and the Town Council, and I don't know of any other committee that was set up for the pools, but they are in disrepair. And don't get me wrong, I think something has to be done, but I think there has to be communication between the committee, the building committee that was set up, and maybe perhaps because there was a permanent building committee that was supposed to be up and running, which I don't even know that that's up and running. Maybe there was thoughts that they would take over in the oversight, but something has to be done, but not to the extent that I have seen previously presented. And I once again will state that I will hold my opinion on the plan until I actually see it presented. And again, I want to thank you for all of you for all you do. It's a thankless job, and I'm one of your biggest critics at times too, but I'm one of your biggest fans as well. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons.
Thank you.
Before Steeplechase Drive in Newington. I have a question and I'm not sure where to bring it, but if you're on Lewis Street in between the Price Chopper and the Middlewood slots, we need another street light there. There's a section there that is so dark, and when people are walking and things are going, and do I bring it to the council? Do I go to the town manager? Where do I go? How do I get that done? So I just thought, I'm here. There's a collection of wisdom here. I just thought I'd ask and see what happens and how that gets resolved. So thank you, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Stam. I don't see any other hands up online, and there's no one else in the room, so we will continue on to remarks by counselors. Ms. Stam, I would say thank you for bringing it up. I saw Town Manager Kropinski is shaking his head over there. Do you want to?
Not the first time I've had to
Okay.
address the street light. We'll actually pass it along to traffic authority, and they will usually respond back to more. No?
I like two, but one's
We usually go with just the single at that location, but we'll take a look.
How about a big flashlight?
There's a dark, there's a very dark patch and across, anybody that's walking from those apartments, Middlewoods or whatever.
All right, so you'll take a look at, and in general, for members of the public, who would they call if they had a concern for a street light?
They can take it through the town manager's office and we'll contact traffic authority directly. We actually have a form that's put together for that to review placement of streetlights. So.
Any other remarks by counselors? Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. Not knowing at the time that I requested these documents that there would be another committee meeting and presentation, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to let folks know that I did ask for and received the 2021 May presentation on probable construction costs of the pool, as well as a memorandum dated April 22, and then revised January 16, 23, which I know our acting town managers in receipt of. And the numbers that they talk about here is not 19 million. The 2021 is 13,792,233. And then the proposal revised in 22 was, if done then, projected cost would be 9,660. So between 9 and 10 million. And then it goes up 5% every year that it's not done, and it will continue to go up estimated 5%, which is why now we're looking at 10,6, according to this document, it was 10,650,150. And next year it'll go up to 11,1, the year after that 11,7, then 12,3, and it's going to keep going up. And so I would ask that we just use the facts and look at the data from the engineers. There's a lot of data here, and just let's go based on the facts. And when I talk about a lens of abundance, we all have budgets. You know, everybody here has a budget. So I'm not saying we have endless resources, obviously. We have amazing people in our state legislature, and Gary Turco and Kate Farrar and Senator Lesser. They continuously reach out to me and others in town to say, how can we, and I know they reached out to the entire body to say, how can we support you, whether it's redevelopment of our streets or our infrastructure, other activities. And the parking issue, you all raise good points. Our speakers raise good point. It's not going to go away, but we cannot, it's irresponsible to allow that real issue to interfere with smart growth of our wonderful programs, our park and rec, our library. So I would just ask that let's reach out to our state delegation. And is there any reality, Councilor Petranco, a realistic view of securing some state monies in the next year, maybe this cycle, maybe next, to help us with our parking situation, and done in a designed way that fits the character of our wonderful town. And I'm done. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Canelo?
When I left, I called the former town manager and I asked him a question. Did he promise Bill DeMayo $4 million in ARPA money? And he said, no. What they did is him and Janet sat down and they said we could put money away every couple of years, between 2 to 6 years, they would have enough, and he wasn't going to have it bonded out. But he also said to Bill, he had to come up with the $8 million. And he promised us to have a shovel-ready project. We gave him the shovel-ready project, and he was going to find the money. Well, it sounds like he found some of the money, but not the full amount. It won't happen overnight. It's going to happen years from now. You know, it's not like flip the switch and we're going to start working on it. But it wasn't promised to him ARPA money. It was out of, CIP, or they're going to start a special fund just for the pool, just like they did the highway garage. And that's why it took me a little bit to get back in here. And I know when I had an engineer go into the pool with Keith, I found it for him. We all went in. They couldn't find any voids in the pool, and it wasn't going to collapse. This is more of a want than a need. So, and then the engineer said, why don't you just level this pool and have a splash pad in Mill Pond, because there's more little kids there to play and everything, and do something great over at Churchill. And neither pool is leaking water. They've been fixed. The problems have been fixed. So, okay. I just wish Bill went to our town manager and said he was promoting all this, and give some fair warning to all of us. So, and as Gary Turco, he's here to represent the whole town, not just the Democrats. And he doesn't invite anybody else but the Democrats to his meetings. So I hope you're listening, because we'd all like to know when and where you're having these events so we can all join you, because we're all residents of Newington.
I will say that we did talk to Representative Turco after the State of the Town address last week, just briefly. And he was, you know, kind of saying he recognizes that this pool project, you know, first of all, I will tell you, I'm in favor of a pool project. It's a matter of finding the right pool project for me to get behind, so to speak, right? And I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anyone else. So for me, I have said on the record that I am concerned about putting it on Garfield because I don't like that it takes up green space and I don't love the parking issue. And I feel like if we're going to do the pool, we need to address both maintaining green space as well as the parking issue. And one of the plans I had seen from a previous iteration that was provided by the architects was to put the pool down where the playground is and add additional parking. And that was something that I would like to at least get some more information to look into. And I'm hoping that the Mill Pond Pool Committee will at least speak to that a little bit, or at least ask the questions of what the cost would be. I know if water table is an issue, it might cost more to put the pool there, but if that is the case, at least educate us on what that cost would be, so that we could plan accordingly. And if parking is able to be added on that end, kind of what that would look like to see if we could alleviate some of the problems. But in speaking with Representative Turco, he had acknowledged that getting a project like this off the ground, it can be timely. And so it can take some time. And so if we weren't able to do that quickly enough for this budget cycle, and our budget cycle is upon us, that he would be willing to advocate at the state level for perhaps smaller funds for some other smaller project, you know, maybe $200,000 or something for this fiscal year, and then trying to move forward with the pool idea next fiscal year. And I know James was there afterward in the brief conversation we had. So just really continuing to explore with him the options that are available. He did come in initially and meet with us just to get our ideas on what projects there were, like on the forefront. We had mentioned the library, we had mentioned the pool, we had mentioned lots of projects that we knew were coming forward as considerations. And the pool is the one that seems to have taken kind of on a life of its own. But I don't think any of us here have ever argued the need for something to happen to get going with these pools. And I've been looking back at the Owens report, at what was recommended back then, and there were dollar figures assigned, and obviously I would assume those have gone up significantly like everything else. But there were dollars associated with fixing the pools back then, and they were, you know, it was in the $1 million range. So I just want some answers on what would that look like? What was Owens referring to in terms of what they recommended as a fix versus what we're looking at now, and what the cost escalation might be on that too. I think there's a lot of information that we have had over the years, and now pulling it together and making sure we're making those decisions based on all the information we have is vital. So I just wanted to kind of tag him on when you mentioned Mr. Turco. I know he's having a meeting coming up that I was not invited to participate in, and that's his choice. That's certainly his right. But in terms of what's right for the town, he has reached out to me. I will say that on the record. He has reached out to me and to others asking what we need and what he can do. So I you know, I won't take that away. So I want to make that clear. Councilor Rada?
Yeah, I think it is somewhat in relation to what you just said. We know, we actually heard at the last Parks and Rec meeting that there was an engineer's report that is available. I don't know how many years ago that was done.
2013.
Oh,
the engineer's report.
So my question is, well, it's twofold. Number one, getting an updated engineer's report for 2023, number one, and number two, if there was an independent engineer's report to be had, is that within the budget? Would that be within the budget of Parks and Rec, or would that be in another?
That is probably going to be in either his operational or within CIP. He's utilizing a separate funding for the architectural services. Specifically, he's been using them since, I think, 2007.
That's the TLB company that did the report. Yeah.
Yep, TLB Architecture.
Yeah.
Correct.
But as a council, if we chose to request an updated current engineer's report, we can request that. And where would the funding come for that?
I believe Councilor Page actually received a partial report on the update. I believe it was a 6-page report that was requested through Parks and Rec, which actually addressed a single site location.
Okay, and that
it didn't
was-
address the other 3.
Okay, and that's from 2021.
There's a 21 and a 22, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
And then an update with 2023 was reviewing some ground tables.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else? No? Just making sure I don't skip anything. I always try to get to adjournment.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Menke, seconded by Counselor Donahue. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Counselor Nagel absent. We stand adjourned at 8:59. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.